I am out here on a rainy afternoon here in Florida, and I'm very excited about today's video. Now, one of the biggest joys I get about growing carnivorous plants is teaching others how to grow them and seeing the excitement of them growing them themselves. And nothing is more important than the younger generations and seeing the excitement they get growing these plants. In today's video, I want to show you what plants you can help your children grow and be a part of this whole journey with them and find the love of these plants alongside them. So in this video, I'm going to show you the top 5 plants that are best for kids, and as you as a parent can help them in growing these remarkable plants. See you in a minute. So the number one plant I think that is best for you as a parent to grow alongside with your kids is the Venus flytrap. Now, for a lot of reasons, this is regarded as a very scary plant to grow. And that's unfortunate because it's a very easy plant to grow. You just got to know how to care for it. And so I'm going to tell you exactly what to do so that way that you will have success in growing these, and that this experience won't be something that is heartbreaking for your child and for yourself. The first thing that these plants are going to need is inert soil. And so you want to make sure that you give it peat moss and perlite. Why peat moss and perlite? Well, peat moss doesn't have any minerals in it, which is why you get that inert part. The perlite helps create air inside the soil so that it doesn't compact around the roots, and so that you don't end up getting what's called anaerobic conditions. That is very important. The next thing you're going to want to do is give it inert water. And so you're going to want to give it reverse osmosis, rainwater, or distilled water. The next thing you want to do is you want to give it plenty of light. And so they want 10 to 12 hours direct south-facing sunlight. While they look tropical, they are not tropical at all. And so they are going to want that bright sunlight. The last thing they're going to want is airflow. Make sure that you give them airflow. And I don't mean like a fan going over it. They just want something. A lot of people will try to put these things in terrariums or something like an aquarium. That is not what they want. They want airflow. The best way to grow these is outdoors. You can certainly grow them indoors. However, you have to do a lot of different setups. And while people try to grow them on windowsills, they're not going to be too happy. But a lot of people tend to buy these plants at big box stores in what we call death cubes. I'm going to explain the exact care you need to do that just now. A lot of folks will start their carnivorous plant journey from a big box store like Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart, and they will buy these little plants here or a similar company that grows these. Now, these are known as death cubes, and for good reason. I see a lot of folks that will buy these and they'll leave them in here. The first thing you want to do if you do buy these is immediately get it out of here. Everything about this is wrong for a Venus flytrap. There's no room for it to grow. The humidity is way too high. There's no real drainage to speak of, even though there are drainage holes. The water sort of sits in there. It's in a big box store where it's not getting a lot of light. The soil has probably been watered with whatever the box store has, tap water if it gets watered at all. And so the first thing you want to do is get it out of here and then get it out of the pot that it's in. And more than likely, there's going to be a little ring like a seed starter or thing of rock wool around it. Get that off of there as well. And that is because Venus flytraps grow via rhizome. And so you don't want anything cutting off that growth. The next thing you're going to want to do is put it in that inert soil we talked about. 50-50 peat moss and perlite. And then you're going to want to give it inert water, reverse osmosis, rainwater, or distilled water. Pre-soak your peat moss because it is going to be very dry to ensure that the soil is moist before you put the plant in it. Then you're going to want to sit it in water, that again, rainwater, reverse osmosis, to keep that soil moist. And lastly, here's where a lot of people mess up. This plant has probably spent the majority of its young life not getting the sun that it needs. And so a lot of people will immediately take it and put it directly outdoors. That will cause the plant to go into shock and burn. You want to make sure that you slowly acclimate it to the outdoors. Over the course of 2 weeks, continue to slowly move it out to full sun. Not in this, but in its own little pot, and you'll be successful. The next plant I think makes a great plant for parents to grow with their kids is Sarracenia purpurea. It is gorgeous, and it brings about a whole new element of carnivory. Most carnivorous plants are like the one we just saw, the Venus flytrap, traps its prey, whereas the other Sarracenia use a sort of pitfall trap. These have wide open traps, and they want water to get into their pitchers because it relies on a symbiotic relationship with an amoeba to help break down its prey. But why does this make such a good plant for the younger generations? And that is because it's extremely forgiving. This plant can handle very, very wet conditions. It also can be grown in a south-facing windowsill, although it is definitely going to prefer being outdoors. It requires full sun, 10 to 12 hours, full sun. A lot of people make the mistake of trying to grow these in lesser light, and so they stay all green, and you don't get all these beautiful venations in them. Now, they can handle less light for sure. They tend to grow very low to the ground, as you see now, very prostrate. When they get larger, they can get up to about 6 inches tall, but not much bigger than that. But they handle, again, just the same type of soil, reverse osmosis water, rainwater, or distilled water for soil, inert as well, so peat moss and perlite. Now, these can handle a lot less perlite if you don't want to spend that extra money. Because they are such boggy plants, they can handle they are very much more forgiving when it comes to anaerobic conditions. But for the most part, though, try to give them that perlite if you can, just to make sure that soil is healthy. They are a moderately growing plant. They grow pretty quickly, and so they will keep things interesting. But they are amazing, amazing plants, and just another great example of carnivory. Now, a lot of these will be sold alongside the ones I just showed you in those death cubes. All the rules that I gave you for the Venus flytrap apply to this as well. Get it out of those cubes, get it out of that soil in the pot that it's in, put it in some fresh media, and you will have success. The next plant I want to talk about is Drosera capensis. When it comes to bulletproof plants, this is one of those bulletproof plants. It can be grown on a windowsill, it can be grown outdoors. The only caveats that I have to it is it doesn't like very, very, very hot conditions. Like here in Florida, these don't do as well. They are extremely easy to care for. They are bulletproof plants. They want the inert soil and the inert water, just like we've talked about. That is going to be the same for any of these plants I show you. They have the added bonus as well as curling around their prey, which is pretty remarkable. They also self-seed, and so they will produce flowers and close and then spread seed. And the seed has about an 80% germination rate, and there's about 3,000 seeds per flower spike. So it gives you a ton. The only caveat that I will give to this plant, it is very susceptible to aphids. And so there is a very good chance that it will either get aphids or thrip, but don't worry about that. If you use BioAdvance 3-in-1, it will take care of that. But that is probably the only caveat I would say that makes this plant, air quotes, difficult, is that you have to deal with pests. They, for whatever reason, love this plant. But other than that, it's incredibly easy to care for, and one that any younger grower can grow. They're very beautiful. They have varieties out there that get quite large, and so they offer a whole bunch of risk versus reward. And so this is one of the plants I would recommend. So we are going to stick with the sundews, and we're going to talk about my favorite, Drosera bonata. Now, bonata in my mind is probably the #1 plant that any new grower, any grower should have. But I do know that there is the attractiveness of a Venus flytrap that tends to bring people in. But Drosera bonata, in my opinion, is all around the best plant for any grower, and I'll tell you why. It is incredibly easy to grow. It grows faster than most weeds. It will, in one season, go from a seedling to probably 50% of its size, and by 2 seasons, it will be fully grown. It is incredibly easy to propagate. These have very, very thick black roots, and if you simply pull off those roots, you just stick them about an inch in the ground, and in about 2 months, you will have a slurry of plants. They catch prey prolifically. All those brown or black spots that you see on that are all bugs. They catch a ton of prey. They get very large. So some of these plants can get 4 feet wide by 4 feet tall. And then when it is not raining and the sun is out and it's beautiful, or early morning, they glisten like diamonds with all of this mucilage that's on their leaf. That is the dew that gets its name, sundew. That mucilage is created through photosynthesis by converting sugars into this goo. The insect thinks it's nectar, it gets stuck, and the digestion begins. It's a remarkable plant. There are several different varieties, so there are many to choose from. And for all those reasons, I think these are a top winner for a new grower. So the last I'm going to talk about is Drosera filiformis, also known as the threadleaf sundew. And so we are going to stick with sundews, and there is a good reason for that. This is another very, very fast grower that offers a ton of benefits. Now, you can't propagate this via roots, but don't worry. If I was to take one of these leaves, cut it off, and put it on the soil surface and just keep that moist, in about a month or two, I would have dozens and dozens of plants. So it's extremely easy to propagate. It also catches its prey via that mucilage, and so these are beautiful. They sparkle like diamonds, especially on those early mornings in the misty mornings as well. They are prolific at catching prey as well. As you can see here, those are all bugs. They flower continuously. These are not self-seeding, but there are varieties that are. Like this Floridana is self-seeding, and it will grow and multiply very fast for you. It also stays very relatively small. There are a ton of varieties of filiformis out there which will constantly keep you entertained. They do die back in winter, just like the Drosera binata I just showed. And so there will be a dormancy period, which may be the only drawback, but come spring, they spring forth full of life. They're one of the first to spring forth, and so it is a remarkable thing to see, and leaves you looking forward year after year to that springtime. So those are 5 examples of plants that I think are fantastic for any new grower, and for you as a parent to be able to enjoy alongside with your children and watch these plants grow together. They're relatively easy, and they are a joy to grow, and they can live for years and years and years. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's giving you some great ideas. As always, I'm always available as a reference if you have any questions. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.